We've got the wonderful Bill Oram in today for Dirt. He's hanging out with us, columnist for the Oregonian. OregonLive.com is where you can find all his great work. He's got really good work and pieces up there right now that you can check out. Go to OregonLive.com. We have a lot to get to here in the second hour of the program. We'll get back into the Oregon State baseball thing. Poll question is up at Dirt and Sprague, the show account. Were you good at bunting when you played baseball? Yes or no? You can vote there. We will talk with Nick Krupke exactly an hour from right now of Fox 12. He was another award winner of Oregon's Media Man of the Year. Very deserving recipient of that, by the way. But we'll talk with him about what's going on down in Corvallis and just his general thoughts of winning awards and being recognized for doing a kick-ass job. So the Daily Ticker will get moved to 8 o'clock. The NBA Finals, we briefly touched on that in the first hour. It is set. It is Pacers Thunder. It is a thrilling NBA Finals. In all seriousness, I actually think it's the best possible matchup we could have gotten from all the teams. I just think the matchup's good. I like the Thunder in 6. I'll just get that prediction out now. I think everybody's saying Thunder in 5 and 4. Could very well be right. Totally get why people do it, but I'll take value. I think the Pacers can definitely win a couple games against this Thunder team. I wanted to start the second hour, though, with a segment I call Oram's Orbit. Something going on in the orbit of one Bill Oram, who is a columnist and does a great job and has since he got the gig. You struck something very interesting with a buddy of yours, and there's a piece at The Ringer that's kind of touching on this too with your friend Howard Beck, good friend of the program, about team building and kind of what this Pacers team should teach the teams of the NBA like Portland. Now, they are in the West, and so that's tougher. But team building and the kind of the takeaway from seeing an Indiana get to a finals.
Yeah, it's just interesting when you look at how the Pacers were built. And like we can talk about the Paul George piece of it, but the Pacers never really tanked. They had some teams that weren't very good, but they never tanked. And when they made the deal for Sabonis, they swapped Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton. They go make the move for Siakam. When they got Siakam, did you think title contender? This is a finals team.
I didn't think title contender, but to be fair, when they got Siakam, I was jealous that they took a swing.
Sure.
It's swing. It no matter how we thought the swing was going to go, it's a swing.
You're going all in. It's not an all in move. It's a big swing.
See, I think that is an all in move for them because if that fails, if Siakam and them don't get to a finals or an Eastern Conference final, like they started the season 10-15. Mm-hmm. Right? At 10-15, did we think the Pacers were going to the finals? And they had to extend him, too.
Yep.
That was that was the wink and the nod. That was the Jeremy Grant deal. It was like, hey, we're trading all this stuff for you. You are going to get the bag from us. And he was willing to do that to play in Indiana, which that's how smaller market teams get free agents.
Have to do it.
That's their term of free agency. It's like, hey, we trade a lot of stuff. We give you the big contract.
But the thing with Indiana is, if you look at their roster, and because so with the Blazers, the thing I've been harping on, and the drum I've been beating is the Blazers still need like their center of gravity. They need a number one option. They need a star player.
Well, they have one according to them.
In which Shaden Sharp, Denny Advia.
Well, they didn't specify who. Just Chauncey said we might have that.
He
might
guy.
Already be on the team.
I don't believe they have that guy. I don't think that any
I don't
of the
think
players
Chauncey
they have
believes that either.
I don't. Chauncey just got paid very nicely to believe that. So they're still looking for that player, but like we sit around and we debate this all the time. Like who's out there who could be that guy? For a while it was like, oh, Zion Williamson, like he could be available. You make that trade. I think Zion Williamson is now very much a stay away. Yeah. But you start kicking around names around the league. Who could that guy be? Who could that guy be? And you look at the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think there was a player in the Eastern Conference Finals who, at the start of last season, we would have said could have been that like go all in for player. I don't think it would have been Tyrese Halliburton. I think you would have said you can have Tyrese Halliburton, but then what do you have? Jalen Brunson, but then what do you have? And so those teams both
prior to his New York arrival, or
I'd say prior to this year.
Okay,
like Brunson's been really good.
I think he proved a lot of people wrong the first year in New York.
Would you have wanted to build a team around him? I don't know if I still want to build a team around him, frankly, but like,
well, Dame is better. Like Dame at his peak is better than Brunson, but
very
like
similar.
It's not that massive of a gap in terms of like when they're at their high end top. And so, like, I'd probably say yes just because we saw them build with Dame.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't go all in the way some of these teams have.
Yeah.
But to your point, largely, you wouldn't look at Halliburton and whether he was a King or a Pacer, and I think at any one point said, that's the leader of a potential title team.
And I think that's what this has done is it's sort of recalibrated what you need to get to the finals. Not that you don't need great players. You do. You do need all-stars. I mean, the Pacers have 2+ all-stars. I mean, has Miles Turner been an all-star? I think he's got an all-star game under his belt.
I don't know if he's been an all-star, but he had 2 All-NBA guys in Siakam and Halliburton.
2+ all-star caliber players. But not a top 10 player. Maybe not a top. I mean, Halliburton's a top 20 player at this point. But I think that is where we're seeing depth is the much more important piece of roster building. Like, super teams are essentially dead. The Lakers, have tried it. They got through once. We'll see what happens with Doncic going forward. But the idea of putting all your eggs on 2 or 3 guys and then filling it out with minimums doesn't really work. I don't think we're going to see those teams win. The Thunder are going to get expensive at some point, but that team has depth 1 through 10. We were talking about the 2000 Blazers. There's a lot more teams that resemble the 2000 Blazers right now than resemble the 2000 Lakers.
It's tough. The super team model, by the way, you know what's funny about this is how close Denver was to not giving us this finals. Like, Jokic is so good that if he has maybe a healthier Aaron Gordon in Game 7, he gets a little more production and Russ doesn't turn back into the pumpkin, we could be sitting here going, hey, man, it's nice to have the best player in basketball, isn't it? Like, that, it's the thinnest of margins between, I think what you're saying and how people are viewing this is accurate, but how close that margin is between it going back to saying, who has the best player? They're going to get there. It is that thin. I think not only is your point accurate, and I'm not mad at having depth. I think Portland's got depth pieces. I just don't think they're very deep. I don't think they're as good as they think that they are internally.
They have 3. I don't want to overstate this, but they probably have like 3 or 4 rotation players on a championship level team right now.
You think they have 4?
I'm trying to think. Like, I think so. Advia, Kamara would be high level rotation players. I think Shaedon Sharpe.
How many minutes does Kamara play for the Thunder if he's on this current team? If you took
if this current Thunder tournament,
Wallace off and you put Tamani Kamara in, how many minutes a game is he getting?
I would have to go through their depth chart of exactly how you're getting him on the floor, but you're getting him on the floor.
I agree with that. Yeah, I want, like, when you say high level depth pieces, I'm thinking 30 minutes. 27 minutes.
I mean, 27 minutes is a lot of floor time.
Yeah, it is a lot of floor time. Well, that's what I think when I think high level depth pieces, right? Like those guys that really matter for them. The funniest thing I think about all of this is where Portland is and all that stuff. And I know we don't need to tie everything here locally. Looking at the Pacers and the Thunder, the funniest part about the Pacers and the Thunder, you could use them too. Last year, the Thunder lose in the second round. And I remember having a debate with Swag of like how aggressive they should be. Should they trade a Jalen Williams? Should they trade a Chet Holmgren? And I'm like, they're young. Run it back. Like, we have what the league lost largely for a long time was the inability to allow chemistry and team building to exist. And what I mean by that is, how many teams in our lifetime did we watch go through the crap? And just to give you an example of a team that didn't win a title but got to build and figure it out year in and year out was Utah, right? Like, Stockton Malone were a tandem for years, and they came up short every time, and they got close at the end in the 90s, but they couldn't quite get over that Michael hump. We didn't have that anymore. It's like, if you don't win in 2 years, blow up,
so
rebuild.
I think what you're talking about is really important is patience. And the patience from the very, very top. Because and you mentioned the Howard Beck piece that I recommend about team building. There's a quote from Todd Ramasar, who used to be who is an agent in the NBA, talking about how you have this new wave of owners coming in who all want the instant gratification of, I want to go all in on a superstar and I want to win a championship next year.
They want to make their mark and they want to win the title.
And that's not how it works.
No.
And so what you've seen in Indiana is Herb Simon, the owner there, has been extremely patient, has been willing to sort of be good 1 year and a little bit better the next year and a little bit better the next year and hopefully break through. What you're seeing in Utah is, like, right now, like, a very painful level of patience with being bad and tanking. But the question is, can an owner tolerate that until you eventually break through? Because otherwise, like, you'll see the Jazz make a trade to become a 41-win team, or you'll see the Blazers. This is what's going to be really interesting with ownership with the Blazers. Does a new owner come in and say, I'm fine with us being on a 3-4 year, on-ramp, as opposed to, okay, I'm here now, I want to win, so start making trades so we can get to 45 wins and be competitive. Because if you try to short circuit that process, it almost never works.
The funny thing I've just observed from both these teams is, coincidentally, they've taken a bit of a Neil O'Shea approach, and that is, it's nice to be good. It matters to be good. You don't want to suck, and you don't want to suck for too long, but also not every year are you going to be a title contender. That's just not realistic, especially when you're in a market like Portland. And so, Neil's teams at the top end, they made the West Finals, but didn't win a game.
Right.
And so largely a second to first round type roster. Yep. He never made that one. He didn't make the Siakam move.
Yeah.
And so far, I would say Cronin hasn't made the Siakam move. He's had opportunities to be the Knicks, and he didn't want to take them. He didn't want Bridges. He didn't want OG Anunoby. You didn't make no effort to go get a Pascal. There were moves to be made that they internally never thought was worth giving up pieces for. And so far, that's netted them Klingon, Shaden, Scoot. And I don't know if those pieces lead a team to the top end of the West. But what's funny is I see these teams and I think of Neil, actually. Of just, Neil knew it was better to be good and in a conversation than to not be at all relevant to people. Now, he could have been more aggressive and maybe taken a step further.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny about Indiana is they're being led by the former regime.
That's what I was going to say. Is if it seems familiar, it's because it's Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan who've built that roster, and have had the trust of ownership.
Yep.
That's where there's when you have that alignment, and the Blazers would tell you that they have it now because Joe and Chauncey are on the same page supposedly, but ownership's a mystery. We don't know who's going to be owning this team a year from now, but. When you have that true alignment, ownership all the way down through the coaching staff, that's when you see teams build over time. And that's what is going to eventually lead to, sustained success.